Not the most pleasant job in the world, I'm afraid, today, but I am going to show you how to properly re-silicone a shower screen. Hiya folks, welcome back to Gosforth Handyman. I'm Andy Mack, and over the years of running a handyman business, I did a lot of re-siliconing jobs, and it's one of those jobs that it looks like it should be easy, but it's not. And it's also one of those jobs where if you do all the preparation correctly, then the final bit of the actual re-siliconing will be pretty quick, but it's a prep that takes a long time. And if you don't do it properly, then it'll fail very quickly and you'll have wasted all your time. So you might as well do it properly. This shower screen here is a real horror show of pretty much everything that can go wrong with silicone over the years has gone wrong with this. It's an absolute mess, and really it's an example of what happens if you just do kind of piecemeal repairs over the top of each other. We've got all sorts of horrific problems in this shower. On the inside edges, I mean literally it looks like it's been applied with a spoon. It's really, really bad. On the outside edges here, it's leaking in various places. On the inside edge along here, someone's had a bash at sealing it up with cork as well. And by the way, never use cork in a shower tray. It's silicone that you need to use. Cork will not do the job. But yeah, someone's attempted to use cork and it's kind of half come off and then it's half restuck itself back onto the shower. We've also got a bit of a problem with limescale around a lot of the joints as well. And the limescale is probably what's causing a lot of the silicone to fail as well, because the limescale's kind of grown around and it's pushed the silicone away from the joint. So before I get on and fix this, let me quickly explain how shower screens work and which bits you should silicone and which bits you definitely don't want to silicone. So first of all I would say is all shower screens are different. So if you can, try to find the original instructions for your particular shower screen, if at all possible. Now, I understand in the vast majority of situations that's just not going to be practical. So I'm going to explain how 90% of the shower screens that I've installed and repaired and worked with have worked over the years. And 90% of them work this way. Some don't work this way. Try and find the instructions. But if you're having problems with showers leaking or mold building up in strange areas and things like that, then just bear in mind what I'm about to tell you. First of all, generally speaking, you should always silicone all of the back corners of your shower. So your bottom two edges against the wall between the tray and the wall should be siliconed, and up the back edge. Now on this particular shower, for whatever reason, they've stopped halfway up and it just looks awful. I'm gonna do it properly and silicone all the way from floor to ceiling, and that'll look much better. Then, in terms of your outer edges, these should all be siliconed as well. So down both sides of the uprights and along the front edge ceiling between the enclosure and the shower tray should be sealed along this outside edge. Now, this is the important bit that you need to remember. When you're having a shower, water can run into all sorts of little gaps and nooks around the edge of the shower screen. And that water needs to be able to get back out and flow down into your shower tray. For example, down this edge here, you've got the main upright that attaches into the wall, and then you've got the kind of adjustable bit which attaches into the upright, and water can easily get in between those two bits of aluminium. And if it does, it needs some way of flowing down inside the aluminium cavity and then out and into the shower tray. Now, what people often end up doing is they'll seal all the way around this bottom edge here and water can't escape. And what happens is stagnant, awful minging water builds up inside this upright or inside the gaps that are in this bottom section here, and then it'll just start overflowing in weird places. Normally it'll end up overflowing outside of the shower and you'll get bizarre leaks because of this. As I say, not all shower screens work like this, so you do need to check your instructions and read them really carefully, but I would say 90% of the ones I've come across tell you do not seal the inside door edge of the shower screen for that exact reason. So in this situation, this bottom edge here would be sealed, this side edge would be sealed, but this front edge wouldn't be sealed. Likewise, over on this other corner, The left-hand edge here should be sealed. The join between the upright and the wall should be sealed, but this edge where they've tried to cork it along this front edge, that shouldn't be getting sealed anyway. That whole edge there should be left clear so that water can run back down and into the tray. If you keep that in mind as a general rule of thumb for doing this kind of job, then everything should be fine. Let's have a look at the sort of tools you're going to need. So don't panic. I know there's a lot of stuff here, but you're not going to need all of this, but I just wanted to show you all the stuff that I would generally take on a re-siliconing job with me, because there's a lot of kind of problem solvers here. You're going to need, first of all, some sort of silicone remover. I've generally found just like the no-nonsense type sealant removers work pretty well. I've tried this Unibond stuff and never had much joy with it. Apparently you can use WD-40. I have tried using WD-40 and it does work. The only trouble is it does leave a kind of oily residue, and you need to get that oily residue off before you can re-silicone, and that can be quite tricky to get off. You're also going to need a selection of scrapers to get the silicone off. Now, what I like to use is just a bog standard utility knife. I've also got a kind of handled knife, a big, what's that, about a 4-inch knife that holds a 4-inch razor blade in the top there. That works really, really well. And I've also got a selection of plastic scrapers as well. You're probably also going to need some sort of mold and mildew remover or bleach or something like that. The HG mold spray works really well. Sometimes just Dettol, you know, mold and mildew sometimes just a bog standard Sometimes just a bog standard mold and mildew remover will work perfectly well as well. Some sort of plastic scrubbing brush is very useful, especially like a thin one like this is very handy. You're going to need acres of blue roll, and you're going to need some old cloths as well. I also like to use methylated spirits to clean everything down before finally applying the new silicone. So there's just a couple of different types of methylated spirits. We've got the pink one and we've got a clear one for whatever reason. I'm not sure what this is called in the States, but I'll include it down below and let you know what methylated spirits is. I also keep a little portable hairdryer in my silicone bag as well. The only use I'll ever have for a hairdryer. It just means that if you've got all the joints like quite wet, and if the grout is wet after you've cleaned everything out, you need to get it absolutely bone dry. So having a little hairdryer in your kit bag to sort that out is handy. Or ask your wife, very nice. Oh no, I wouldn't dare use my wife's hairdryer. Wouldn't even cross my mind to do that, babe.
I think I lost an iron as well, didn't I?
I did take your iron, yeah.
And measuring jug.
And your measuring jug. And yeah, okay. And then finally we get to your actual silicone, and I personally like to use the Dow 785 bacteria resistant silicone. I've always had really good results with that. I've heard good things about the Forever White silicone as well. I don't even know if that is silicone. It's much, much lighter than the Dow stuff. I don't know if that is silicone, but it says that it's got a 10-year proven protection against mold and discoloration. So I don't know. I've never used it. If you've used the Forever White, let me know. Thank you very much to Sealant Wholesale who sent me this, and that is not sponsored. They just sent me a few tubes of various different sealants to try out. Obviously you're going to need a sealant gun, not the best sealant gun in the world, but I've had this for years and years and years, so I know where I am with it. I've got a bunch of spare nozzles that I carry around as well, just in case. And I've got spare blades for that scraper in there as well. And probably most importantly, I've got the Fuji kit, or Fugi kit, which is the silicone kind of, what do you do? The silicone former. And you use this to drag along the joints and get nice clean silicone joints. It's worth the investment. They're not that expensive. I'll include a link in the description below if you want to pick one of these up. Other things you're probably going to need as well. You're going to need a dust sheet, lots of dust sheets because it is a messy job. You're going to need a bucket or a bin to put all of your leftover blue paper in, because there's going to be a lot of paper covered in silicone and things, so make sure that you've got somewhere to put it. And obviously, as we're dealing with kind of strong chemicals here, you might want to wear gloves. I personally don't, but it's up to you. If you want to wear gloves, wear gloves. If you want to wear any other protective equipment, then feel free to do so. Right, let's get sorted and get this done and dusted. I would give yourself a good half day to get this done. If you rush it, you'll just be coming back later to redo it. So you might as well spend your time, do it properly, give yourself a good half day of work. Also, I would say don't fix what ain't broke. If the joints are fine, then leave it. For example, the joints down that edge there and that edge over there are absolutely fine, so I'll not be touching those. All the other joints, so along that back edge here and all the way up that wall, I'll be redoing, and I'll be doing the full edge along the front outer side of the tray. And by the way, I would suggest you do this when the shower is dry, so I would say try and give it a good kind of 12 hours since the shower was last used. On your last shower use, give the whole shower a good kind of dry out with some blue roll and just let the whole thing dry, maybe open a window in the bathroom. And it just means that then you're working on a dry shower rather than a wet shower. It'll be much easier doing this repair if the shower is dry to start off with. So the last time I used this shower was yesterday evening. I dried it all out. We're now at the following morning. We're ready to start the job, and then I'll not use it again until tomorrow morning. So I've brought all the bits up that I need ready to start, and I've also already tackled the Limescale. I'm not going to go into the Limescale in a huge amount of detail. All I did was I've got some toilet paper and just lined it up around all the edges, soaked it in vinegar, left it for about half an hour or so, and then came back and scraped the Limescale off. Just check it every now and then that it's not causing any damage to the actual aluminium or like the chrome finish of your shower. I would test it on a hidden area first, because obviously the acid in the vinegar can potentially damage the shower. In this case it was absolutely fine, and as I say, after about half an hour the Limescale scraped off quite easily. So I'm in my mucky clothes, I've got some knee pads on, and I'm ready to crack on. So the first thing I like to do before I start with anything else is to get your silicone remover on, because that needs to be left for a little while. So all I'm going to do is generously apply this to everywhere that I want silicone removed. Once again, with these sort of products, I mean, I've used these a lot and I've never had a problem with them, but I would always suggest that you test it on like a hidden little area first, just to check that it's not going to cause any damage to either the shower screen or the tray or anything like that. But I've used this so many times now, I've never had a problem with it. Once you're done with all of that, you can have a little break. You need to just leave it for a good half an hour if possible, but yeah, just leave it. What does it say on the instructions? Let's see. Well, the instructions say leave it for 15 minutes, but I've always found that the longer you leave it, the better. I would suggest that you test it and just find what works for you, but you know, if you can leave it for half an hour or an hour, I've found that that works pretty well. So while that's doing its thing, I'm going to go and get a cuppa, I'm going to get a bucket and everything else that I need to do the next part of this job. Right, so a good half an hour has passed now, and we are ready to start removing the silicone. And you know it's ready because it goes all kind of wavy along the edge of the silicone, so you know that's ready to pretty much just peel off. Some will come off quite easily, some will be a real challenge. I'm going to start in the shower because the silicone's much thicker in there and it might need a couple of applications to get off. I'm not going to show you every single second of this because this will take a good couple of hours to get everything cleaned down and sorted out. All I would say is use your selection of tools that you've got on hand. Anything that can potentially scratch, use plastic tools on. If it's stuff like tiles and stuff, you can probably get away with the metal scraper, but do be careful that you don't damage your tiles. Metal scraper is really a last resort, but I can tell you right now, looking at this silicone, there's a lot of last resort silicone in here that's going to be a challenge to remove. So that's the bulk of the old silicone removed. Now there's quite a few bits where there's mould growing. Either water's managed to get behind the old silicone or they've just siliconed over the top of mould and just left it. So I'm going to give everything mouldy a quick spray with a mould spray, and then I'm going to go off, have some lunch, come back, give everything a clean down, let it dry for a bit, and then we're ready to do the final silicone. By the way, it's quite strong stuff this, so I would suggest you open a window while you're using it. I'll include a link in the description to this if you're looking for it. As I say, you can use any kind of bleach or anything, but this works pretty well. So all I'm doing now, I'm steadily going around with a hairdryer, drying out every joint, just making sure everything's absolutely bone dry. Remember, silicone does not stick to damp surfaces, so you've got to get it absolutely bone dry. And this is also a good opportunity to use the hairdryer to blow any bits of dust or little leftover bits of silicone residue out of any of the joints as well. So folks, guess what? We're actually ready to start siliconing. Well, nearly. We need to let this completely dry out now. We've done the hair drying. I would like to just leave it for a bit longer, about half an hour. Now's a good time to do a quick tidy up as well. So I'll clean out the dust sheet, clean out the shower tray, put all my tools away and things just while I'm waiting on it to dry. And then we'll get the last bit done. I'm giving all the joints a good final wipe down with methylated spirits. This gives a really nice clean surface ready for applying the silicone. It's then just a case of applying the silicone itself and removing the excess with the Fuji forming tools. I am adding a slight return on the lower pillars, stopping at the edge so that any water inside the pillar can drain out. I wouldn't normally recommend this, but I don't know what state the silicone is in behind the uprights, so this is just belt and braces really. Just make sure you don't seal all around the bottom edge on the inside of the shower unless your shower screen manufacturer specifically recommends it. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here and tell you how to use the Fuji kit. James from Plumber Parts, Charlie from Charlie DIY, Ches from Ultimate Handyman and Skill Builder have all made excellent videos about how to use these. I'll leave some links to their videos in the description below. My main tips for this is don't rush, know when to stop, and make sure you've got plenty of blue roll. And that's us all done and dusted. Not the easiest of jobs, but as per usual, it's all in the preparation. If you spend a bit of time doing the preparation, the actual siliconing bit will be easy. So let this dry overnight. I'm going to give this until tomorrow morning. It'll be absolutely fine and ready to use by tomorrow morning. And what I would also suggest is that the first time you use the shower, just watch out for any leaks or anything, just in case you've missed a bit or something like that, and you can fix it afterwards. But hopefully I've gone round and I've checked everything. I can't see anything that I've missed. It's substantially better than it was before. It's not perfect. At the end of the day, the shower has been like, it's had remedial fixes on the grout using silicone all over the place, and it makes it a little bit difficult, like, where do you stop basically? But as I say, it's a massive improvement and hopefully it'll not leak anymore. Couple of little tips for you before I finish off. If you do make a mistake on your silicone, once it starts to skin, you'll destroy it if you go over it. But you can sometimes use like a dilute soap and water mix. If you literally just do a quick spray of soap and water, go over it with a finger or a tool, you can sometimes fix mistakes that way, but you can also sometimes make it a lot worse as well. So that's a bit of a last resort. If it started to skin and you've mucked something up, you could give it a quick spray with soap and water. But remember the rule, silicone doesn't stick to wet things. So if you make it too wet and then you're putting silicone over the top, you might as well just take it all out and start again. Another quick tip as well, to avoid your silicone turning mouldy in the first place, try not to keep bottles and like toothbrushes and all that sort of thing right in the corner of the shower on top of the silicone, because if the silicone just never gets a chance to dry out, then you're fighting a bit of a losing battle. You want plenty ventilation in your bathroom. Try not to keep things right up into it's okay having bottles in your shower, but just don't have them right up against the silicone. Try and leave a bit of an air gap, and then the silicone will dry out between uses and it'll last much, much longer. As per usual, this is just my method of doing it. I'm not saying it is the perfect way of doing it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the way I do it. If you do it a different way, please let us know in the comments below, and we can all learn from each other, and it's a beautiful thing. As per usual, folks, thanks for watching. Take care, be nice. I shall see you next time. Tatty bye.